Please welcome Philomena Lee and her daughter, Jane Liberton. Welcome.
Thank you.
So nice to meet you. I absolutely adored this movie, and it must have been so strange for you, Philomena, to see literally your life unfold before your eyes. Do you feel as if it was an accurate portrayal of what happened to you and your life?
Indeed, yes, it is. There's some funny parts in it, but the majority of it is really accurate.
Meanwhile, to be portrayed by Dame Judi Dench.
Well, I mean, who on earth did I ever believe when I first heard there was going to be Judi Dench and told my friends, they thought I was going a little bit...
Yeah?
They wouldn't believe me. But anyway, I proved them wrong, and she... Could I have found anybody better, really?
I was going to say...
She is such a lovely lady, an absolute darling.
Did you get to know her a little bit in the process of the film?
Yes.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your story, because for some people, especially who have not seen the film, Philomena, you were raised by nuns in a convent in Ireland, and you got pregnant when you were 18. You had lost your mom, I guess, when you were just 6 years old, so your father had you raised in this convent school. You got pregnant, and the nuns were not very happy about that.
My father wasn't very happy about it, I can tell you. When they discovered I was pregnant, I left the convent. You had to leave the convent. I was there from 6 till 18, so it was everything that you learned through your religion, everything. I firmly believed in everything. Went to the doctor, and the doctor got me into this other convent, where there I stayed and had Anthony. They asked me to sign the adoption papers, papers that would allow him to be adopted. And that was after 3.5 years. So I did that.
And there is such a heartbreaking scene in the movie when you realize that your son is leaving. Did that really happen, Philomena?
This very nice nun, she was nice all through the 3.5 years I was there. She got me little photographs of him and what have you. She said, quick, come on, run up. We ran up the stairs and looking out the window, as in the film. And I looked down, and there he was getting into the car, and I could see he was looking out the back of the car, his face looking... his face looking at me out the back of the window, and that's the last I ever saw of him. So...
You, I know, left the convent, and you got married. You had 2 children.
I did.
One of them, your daughter, Jane,
my darling daughter,
who's here. And Jane, how and when did you find out about your mom's story and that Anthony even existed?
It's only 10 years ago, well, actually 2003, so 11 years ago now, that she'd been back to Ireland on a visit to her brother, who'd told her to come back and tell us, to tell myself and my brother. Mum had kept it secret for 50 years because she was so ashamed, she felt a sinner, and she also thought that we were going to reject her, but we had quite the opposite reaction.
You then enlisted the help of a journalist.
I did. I was searching for about 18 months, and I was reaching brick walls all the time, and a mutual friend did know Martin, who had the connections in Washington, and literally within a couple of weeks of meeting Martin, he'd found all the American side.
And what you didn't know was that your son had been looking for you.
I know, he had.
And he, by the way, we should mention your son, who was adopted. His name was Michael Hess.
Michael, yeah.
And he was a very big deal.
He was.
In Washington, D.C.,
yeah.
Right? He worked for the Reagan administration and the Bush administration.
He did.
He was a lawyer, right,
he was.
Philomena?
Chief attorney for them.
And very, very handsome man.
Oh, what?
He was diagnosed with AIDS, and as he got sick, he wanted to know more about you.
He did. He went 3 times looking for me to the convent where he was born, and each time they said no, they had no idea where I was. And
even though you had been to the convent looking for him, and they knew that, but they didn't tell him that.
That's right. They also told him that I'd abandoned him at 2 weeks, and I'd reared him for 3.5 years.
There were about 2,200 American adoptions from convents all over Ireland around this period of time, and you've started something called the Philomena Project.
We've started it because there's been such an amazing response to the film, and it became obvious that a lot of people, particularly the American people, don't really know where to go or where to start looking, because the legislation in Ireland is still closed adoption records. So we started the Philomena project together with a group called the Adoption Rights Alliance, which have been going for some time just to help point people in the right direction. And the ultimate aim is to get the legislation changed.
You know, a lot of people have said this movie is very anti-Catholic. You know, certainly the nuns, have to be honest with you, are not portrayed in a very favorable light. There are, one or two who seem to have some compassion.
It was never set out to be anti-Catholic in any way, shape or form. This is my mum's story. This is what happened to her. And Mum's always been at pains to say there were very good nuns there, but there were equally not so nice nuns as well.